How do we create a life? How do you create your life? What do you want in life? What is the power of manifestation? By understanding the power of manifestation, can you create your life now the way you want it to be? Do you want to experience spiritual consciousness, making positive change in your life, change for life for the better? And things like also how to manage conflict, which seems to get in the way. Hey, everyone, thank you for joining this episode of For a Better Life podcast. And I'm thrilled to have you joining me today. By the way, for those of you that don't know me, James Nussbaumer, I'm the author of a book series that I'm just so thrilled with. It's just overwhelmingly thrilling me to death. And for those of you that know my story will know why I'm so overwhelmed. But it starts with the master of everything, a story of mankind in the world of illusion we call life. And from there, we go on to mastering your own spiritual freedom, lessons from A Course in Miracles. And just now being released is the third book, which I think is the ultimate killer of this series so far, which is called And Then I Knew My Abundance. Oh, what a terrific story lies in that book. And I've got so many others that are already written. They're just in line getting ready to be published and edited and all that. And it's a wonderful series. I write every day about the power of manifestation, about spiritual consciousness, about making positive change, about spiritual metaphysics, about understanding who you are within. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is to create your life. What prompted this episode today was Sarah Jane and her husband Clark of Traverse City, Michigan. That's way up there in the Upper Peninsula where they get a lot of snow. And they had messaged me through my Facebook group and asked me if I would try to get to the bottom of and explain, how to create your life by getting the conflict out of the way, and to, realizing, you had said in one of your blogs, Sarah Jane had said, is to, when I say blog, I mean an article at my blog, one of my blog articles, is to, why it's not necessary to make decisions. Boy, that was a question mark in her mind. Well, Sarah Jane, by the way, I'm going to get to the bottom of that today. And, I love your name, Sarah Jane. If you're listening, I'm sure that you are, because I emailed you and told you that I would be mentioning your name, but I didn't mention the last name. Sometimes I will. If people, I'll email back and say, hey, is it okay if I mention your last name? And if I don't get a reply back, then I just don't. For obvious reasons, you can understand why, protection. And so I didn't, and that's fine, because, Sarah Jane and Clark, you're wonderful people, and I love you, and you're awesome. And thank you for following me and believing in what I write about and speak about. Also, Kenneth, some people call him, he said, and a lot of his friends call him Kenny. So he told me to call him Kenny, and his wife Rhonda in Cheshire, England. I hope I pronounced that right for you people in Cheshire. And if I didn't, please just, chalk it up as my ignorance from United States of America and understanding the British, tongue, so to speak. And I chuckle at that because I'm making a joke, but, with the language barrier. So Kenny and Rhonda in Cheshire, England, wanted to know, you say the real world is a choice that you make, but, how do we really realize that in our mind? And you had also added, Jim, that I'm reading off of an email from him, that there's nothing in between, no what ifs or maybes about what it is you really want in life. And we're trying to accomplish what we want in our life. Yeah, we're getting along doing it, but we've got a lot of what ifs and maybes. Can you clear that up for us today? Yes, Kenny and Rhonda, I'm going to clear that up today. And, thanks for bringing that up, because, I enjoy these podcasts on Monday. And by the way, I'm doing this on location at the health club I go to. When I say health club, the gym, the workout center that I go to, which is a huge rec center, they call it, in an area I'm at right now in my hometown of Massillon, Ohio, called the Rec Center. And I joined a yoga group with it, which is just so awesome. You know, I love yoga and meditation. And yoga, I had just joined a group. But I've always done yoga. You know, I read books on how to do yoga and, you know, joined a newsletter and watched some videos. And I've always done yoga in the privacy of my home, kind of afraid to, you know, get with others and do it as a group. But, you know, a yoga group is a really close-knit group of people. So I'm here on location. We had just done a yoga routine that lasted about 45 minutes. And then we had some questions with our instructor afterwards. And now here I am with a few of the people sitting right nearby me as I speak, and they're listening to me because this is my first day I joined the group, by the way. So they don't really know me that well, but I think after this podcast, they're going to get to know me. And, you know, yoga is, now this is not about yoga today. So I'm going to say this real quick, but yoga is really good to get to the heart of the matter about what's really going on with inside you. So, you know, how do you create your life? And, you know, understanding the illusion of resolving conflict. Well, you know, how to resolve conflict, how to manage conflict, and dealing with how to create your life. Conflict, you know, there's a lot of conflict that goes on that must happen in our whole mind or from our heart that we must correct, if you will. When I say from your heart, if you will. Now, you know, while understanding that in human form, we are all, you know, projecting a different world. And of course, by the way, everyone knows that I write from the principles contained in the spiritual metaphysical principles of A Course in Miracles, which I just love so much because it drives me to inner depths like you would not believe, where I can figure out what's going on, you know? You know, some people go to great lengths and, you know, how to create the life that they want, you know, how to create your life and how to resolve conflict that's going on or dealing with conflict, and, you know, which can lead and backfire to mental or mindful, medical, quite often relationship issues. And, you know, conflict is a touchy thing in this world for us as humans. Now, keep in mind for Sarah Jane and Clark of Traverse City, Michigan, who had emailed, and for Kenny and Rhonda in Cheshire, England. You know, I think it's pronounced Cheshire, isn't it? Someone email me and let me know, would you? Message me. But, you know, for those that, you know, keep in mind, as I say, as humans, meaning that, keep in mind, because I'm going to go deep here today in this podcast. I'm going to go deep, deep. As I sip on a cup of coffee here. By the way, it's very early in the morning. Our yoga group is early in the morning. So, you know, as humans, we are in this world. When I say in this world, you're going to be, is there another world? No, there's the world we live in, and then there's the real world. If as humans we realize that at the core, conflict, at the core of who we are, conflict is merely an illusion. And, you know, then we have an opportunity, we can say, for tapping our whole mind and begin creating the life you want. We can begin creating your world when you can understand and realize that, you know, you have an opportunity for tapping into your whole mind rather than projections of what the world is really about here on earth. You know, A Course in Miracles asks us to answer this question. And really, it's pretty simple. A lot of things in A Course in Miracles are deep, but when you put your practical mind on, you can understand it. But A Course in Miracles asks us to answer this question: where all reality has been withdrawn from, what was never true, can it be hard to give it up and choose what must be true? And I'll repeat that as you're letting it sink in for a moment. Where all reality has been withdrawn from what was never true, can it be hard to give it up and choose what must be true? You know, how to create your life and resolve conflict while you're doing it begins with realizing that what must be true makes no decisions. You don't have choices really that you need to make because it has nothing to choose from. Oh, now you might be thinking, this is where we're getting to with Sarah Jane and Clark of Traverse City wanted to know more about, what do you mean we don't have choices to make? Well, we do. As humans, we have choices to make. But if we can go beyond our human body, our human essence, and tap in or even just glimpse a little bit of, glimpse, because as humans, we're analytical and we're always dissecting things. But if we can just let some things flow across our mind for a little bit, and just get a little glimpse of something that you are beyond your body, you can understand that you really don't have any choices, because no choices are necessary when you're following truth. And I mean unaltered truth. I mean truth that is real. There is only one truth. There's no unaltered truth. There's one truth. And when you live by the truth of who you are, which means creating the life that you want, creating your life, because it's what you want, then you can go to work and sketching out your life detail by detail and feel confident that it will be done. In other words, there's a prayer that says, thy will be done, right? Why not look deeper into that? It doesn't take rocket science to go deep within yourself. It really doesn't. And a lot of people are afraid to go within, but it doesn't. Most people want to just think the way the world tells them to think, rather than thinking from within yourself, which is simple and easy. And that simple and easy, that's the justice of heaven. I'll get into that in a minute. But if truth could decide on, let me say that again, if truth could decide on any one thing, it would be to continue being all that it really is, which is oneness of mind. Wholeness, oneness of mind. And where there is oneness, there is no conflict. Conflict means separation, things that are split apart. Oneness and wholeness, which is what truth is, cannot be separated. Nothing is separate. Truth is whole, it's one. There's no different sides of the truth. So when you're operating that from within you, I'm not talking about agreeing with other people's version of the truth and then you accepting that, well, that's the truth, I've got to accept it, I can't conflict with it. No, the truth within you, that doesn't need to be shared with ego-based dialogue, which we'll get into. You can keep that to yourself. Only you know what the truth within you is. And that's what I like about yoga too. It brings that out. In mindfulness meditation, by the way, being more whole and at one with humanity is why I urge my readers, my listeners, people that are following me and seeing me speak. By the way, I'll be at a transformation conference coming up soon, which I'll announce here in a second. But that's why I urge you to learn how to do mindfulness meditation. Now, I know it's only March 12th, 2018, but I will be speaking at a tremendous conference in August, the Transformation Conference in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, put on by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company, which is the publisher of my books up until this point. And I think we have a tremendous relationship. I think that it's going to continue. But keep posted to my blog articles and my emails, and you'll know more about that as time goes on. And if you're following me on Facebook, I'll be announcing it. Twitter, if you're following me there, I'll be announcing that. But at the Transformation Conference, I will be speaking for 90 minutes, one of the 3 days that the conference is held. I'll be speaking for 90 minutes. Phew, I don't know if I have enough to say in 90 minutes. Yeah, I think I do. But and then on the other days the other time that I'm not speaking, I will be holding one-on-one conferences. So follow me to find out more about that. Half-hour and 1-hour sessions in a private room where we can dissect things. But being more whole and at one with humanity is why I urge mindfulness meditation. You know, meditation exercises, whether it's yoga or whatever it is that you do, are great for reaching within and going deep, deep to reaching your goals and making your dreams a reality, letting go of and ridding all that inner conflict and living life on your own terms. It means creating your life now. Yes, now. You know, believe me when I say that this is how the most successful people who have ever lived think and operate, and how they found a way to success. Needed to sip on another coffee here. By the way, I had loads of water after the 2 bottles of water afterwards, and because the yoga workout was intense. But I like to sip on coffee. I've got kind of a coffee thing lately. I like the good kind of coffee, you know. So anyways, how to resolve conflict, conflict that's getting in the way from creating your life cannot be about considering two or more sides of the truth, which I had already said, because oneness is always true and it has no room for anything else. You know, but trying to understand this can be quite confusing and conflicting in our mind when we side with our human-based, ego-based, our human side, ego-based mind is what I mean to say. You know, at my blog, I've got another article that's related to this. It's called How to Get Love Relationship Advice and Find Marriage Counseling Tips to Get Through These Bumpy Rides, because a lot of the times in life, you know, with this conflict that's going on in our life all the time, it leads into love relationship problems. Believe me, I've fallen prey to this myself. You know, I've had my share of breakups and my share of healing that's had to go on, just like many of you who are listening. So that article may help. You can go to jamesnussbaumer.com/ and put in relationship advice. There's a blog article it will take you directly to. But the ego-based mind, which is that doubting and fearful aspect in us all, relies on conflict to make concrete decisions. You know, the concrete splits apart, by the way, doesn't it? With time, doesn't concrete split apart? It separates. The concrete will always give us something to choose from, giving us a reason for decision, which can be complicated and conflicting. And as humans, that's why we are separate from each other and conflict with each other, and we don't get along with everybody. That's the human nature of us. You know, spiritual freedom is not complicated when all you know is oneness and wholeness. In oneness, there is no conflict. How can oneness conflict? One is one. Now, you could say two is two, but yet 2 is 1 + 1 = 2. So, but one is what? One is, there's no conflict in oneness. To know, to have knowledge, to know is merely to accept the truth as all there is in any given matter. You know, have you ever tried to explain what the truth means to someone? Have you ever tried to explain that to, maybe if you're a parent, tried to explain to a child what the truth means? If you were just friends, have you ever tried to explain to your close friend over coffee, or maybe over a couple cocktails at happy hour, what does the truth really mean? You can't explain it. It's unexplainable. This is the same as oneness, where nothing conflicts. Nothing is separate. Nothing is separated. And this is why the ego-based mind that we humans are about cannot understand it. There is nothing to decide. One is one, truth is truth, and that's all there is to it, really. Boy, see, it's not complicated, is it? Excuse me, I did take another sip of this morning coffee. The real world is a choice you make. Well, what do I mean by that? The real world is a choice you make to accept what is real. What is real in your heart, not what is real by what others tell you. Even after this podcast, don't go by what I'm saying. Just let what I'm saying flow across your mind or flow across your human brain without dissecting it. And then let your inner self decide what is real for you. I'm here just to give you some food for thought. There's nothing in between no what ifs or maybes that Kenny and Rhonda in Cheshire, England, I think that's the right way to say it, wanted to know. No, there's no what ifs. There's no maybes. If you know what you're going after is really what you want to be doing and is of the oneness and wholeness of your heart. You don't have to worry about an outcome then if you're going by the oneness of your true heart, because that is the real world. And in the real world is not an outcome. The real world is what it is. It's eternity. It's eternal. It's infinite. It is what it is. An outcome can only be formed by a perception. An outcome can only be perceived. When we say, well, let me just say, oneness and truth cannot be separate. And there are no outcomes. There's no outcome from oneness and truth. Oneness and truth is what it is. Because if you're operating from creating your life about what it is that you want, when you're operating from creating your life now, from what it is that you really want in this world while you're here on earth, that means you are operating from oneness and truth. And there's no conflict involved in that. It is what it is, always. Oneness and truth. If all you can ever knowledge, let me say, if all you can ever have knowledge of, I was going to say, if all you can ever be knowledgeable of is oneness and truth, you will undo every illusion you have ever had. Oneness and truth just, they cannot endure sacrifice because they don't need sacrifice. They don't need sacrificial things. They don't need to do sacrificial things. Oneness and truth does not need to be a part of sacrifice at all. Only illusions need to sacrifice. And when we're sacrificing, we think we're sacrificing as ego minds, humans, because all we're doing is letting go of illusion. We're letting go of the ego, and we think it's sacrifice, but it's not. If we're just operating by oneness and truth, we don't have to let go of illusion because all we're doing is operating by oneness and truth. There truly is no sacrifice when you let go of an illusion because it was never real. An illusion is an illusion, and it will always be that way. Falsity is falsity. Truth is truth. If all you are is perfect oneness and truth, you never have a need to sacrifice at all. You don't need to sacrifice if you're aligned with oneness and truth with everything that you do. That's a fine line there too when the ego gets involved. So if you start to analyze that and you start to be analytical or treating this like some kind of a deep engineering project and dissecting it to death, you're going to try to prove to yourself that sacrifice is needed. Well, sure, we have to do things in this world that we normally don't like to do, but that's not what I'm talking about with sacrifice. A Course in Miracles goes on to teach us that forgiveness in the world is equal to the justice of heaven. Let me repeat that. A Course in Miracles states and teaches that forgiveness in this world is equal to the justice of heaven. Now, what do I mean by that? The justice of heaven? What is the justice of heaven? What else could the justice of heaven be other than oneness of truth? In this world, we associate the word sin with the word forgive. Well, we feel that that when we forgive, or when we ourselves have been forgiven, that sin is wiped clean. In this case, no individual can forgive unless he believes in sin, or that he has been forgiven for his own sin. You see, sin is only in this world that we dream of as humans. Beyond the dream, there is no sin. In my previous articles and books, I had said that true forgiveness means to look beyond errors caused by elusive thinking and by illusion made by the ego. In oneness and truth, there is no sin. Therefore, you cannot sin in true reality. That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, and if you cannot grasp that, that's okay, because sometimes it's hard for me to grasp too. But when I just glimpse at it and let it flow across my mind, I understand it. Because when you're having trouble dissecting that there really is no sin, that means you're putting far too much emphasis on the body, on the human body, as who you truly are. Additionally, we must forgive ourselves for believing in the forgiveness of the sin we never had or ever will have. True reality has no sin. In true reality, I mean true reality. True, what is truth? Oneness and wholeness. In true reality, there is no sin, because sin is conflict. Wholeness has no conflict. Wholeness has no separation. There is no sin. So when you can live by touching that part of you, for the most part, while in this world, you are living true reality that has no sin. You know, anything that is a part of our dream of separation is not real. You know, remember, as I sip on a coffee now, this might jolt a few people here, what I'm about to say. But if you think about it, it's absolutely true. Now, you know, first of all, hey, I like the Bible. Don't get me wrong. I love the Bible. But I don't necessarily follow the interpretations of the Bible that many people set forth. But there's other people that have interpretations of the Bible I do like. But then I have my own interpretations of the Bible too. But words are words. The Bible is words. So if you read the words, it's up to you, the real you, to interpret. Either the dreamer in this world to interpret, or the real you to interpret what the words of the Bible say. But yes, in the Bible it says, remember now, the Bible states that Adam fell into a deep sleep. Yes, Adam fell into a deep sleep. But nowhere is there any reference anywhere in the Bible, of Adam's awakening. I'm going to repeat that. Remember, the Bible states that Adam fell into a deep, deep sleep. But there is nowhere in the Bible that references his awakening, because the dream continues to this day. How could any of the other spiritual masters and scripture writers of those times have talked about Adam awakening from the dream, when it's all a big dream itself? Adam, the representation of humanity, fell into a deep sleep, but there's nowhere that says he has ever awakened. Yes, Adam was dreaming when he and Eve got caught up in the lies of the serpent. Now, I'm not talking about Adam as flesh and bones. I'm talking about Adam, a tiny portion of our wholeness that slipped off into a dream of separation from the one mind of God. That's the Adam I'm talking about. And Adam dreamed and he's still dreaming, and we are of that. That's a good way of looking at the way things are happening in the world. You know, the Son of God, or the sonship, as a Course in Miracles terms, which is a way to get you thinking, has not yet, the Son of God, or the whole child of God, meaning mind. As you're listening to me, take your mind, take your focus now off of the body, put it on the mind, not your brain, the mind, the essence of who you are. Put it on that essence, which is the mind. The brain is the body. The essence of who you are is your mind. The Son of God, the whole child of God, which is your whole mind, the essence of who you are, or the sonship as a Course in Miracles terms, only for kind of a little bit easier understanding, has not yet experienced full awakening. The wholeness of who we are, the little tiny fragment that represents Adam and humanity, we have not awoken. We have not fully awakened from the dream yet. In sin, S-I-N, sin is in the dream and not of the dreamer. When you have dreams at night, and you're dreaming in this world, while you're dreaming, and you have bad dreams, and you're dreaming of things that went wrong, and all these nasty, horrible things. And when you wake up, they're not real. They never happened, because it's the dreamer. And I'll repeat that again. Sin is in the dream and not of the dreamer. By forgiving ourselves in this exciting and awakening way, we can turn the world of sin into a world of sinless love for one another. We can cut out the wars and the terrorism and all that's going on with never-ending trust, which is the oneness and the truth that I am talking about in this podcast. It's the oneness and truth that I experienced this morning in the yoga at sunrise, not even before sunrise, in the yoga session that I'm so excited about. No sadness, no parting, no dealing with conflict, because everything is totally forgiven, even forgiveness itself. And when we forgive, it's not that we're looking over someone, I forgive you, you should be glad I'm forgiving you. No, when we forgive ourselves and we forgive other people who have harmed us, we are overlooking the ego-based human aspect in them and looking beyond that to the wholeness and the oneness and the truth that they really are. And when we can align ourselves that way, most often, it's not easy to do it all the time because we're humans, well, in this world. But if we can say maybe 75% of the time, lean that direction, that is where you start to create your life now the way you want to live and get the life you want. Nothing can be kept separate, not even conflict. In fact, we don't have to figure out how to resolve conflict, because conflict simply fades away. It dissolves as we awaken to this oneness that I'm describing. You know, before I close, here's a fun article about judging others less and dropping conflict and reflecting love, joy, and happiness into the world. That's at jamesnussbaumer.com. You can just go to jamesnussbaumer.com/reflecting love. And that should bring this up. And before I do, I'm continuing to close now. I invite you to sign up for the Everyday Miracles newsletter. And I also have a mastermind group that once you're getting the free version of the Everyday Miracles newsletter, I'll make sure you know about the mastermind group. That we keep it a tight niche group, and we bring our mind together for self-success in a better world. You know, I hope that you'll read my books. You can see what Amazon.com has to say about my ever-developing series over at my website. If you're already at my website, by the way, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a YouTube icon in the header above and the footer below. And if you're listening to this at YouTube, go ahead right now and click on subscribe to my YouTube channel. And please follow me on Twitter. I love Twitter. For some reason, I engage well on Twitter. I'd love to have you follow me on Twitter. Go to James. In fact, if you're at my website, you can find it there. Click on the Twitter link and subscribe. Just go to James Nussbaumer. I think my handle at Twitter is JASNUSS, Jasnus, you could say. Facebook. Follow me at my fan page on Facebook and on my normal page, and also Google+. You know, I hope that before I close here that, you know, if you feel moved about what I've had to say, that you will support my work, because I put a lot of effort into what I'm doing, and I hope that you will maybe join me in Eureka Springs coming up. I've got a few mini conferences before that, but this is a major one in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Look it up at Ozark Mountain Publishing Company, ozarkmt.com. In fact, at my website, you'll find that. Well, I've got to go, and I hope that I covered the questions, Sarah Jane and Clark of Traverse City, Michigan. And for you, both of you too, Kenny and Rhonda in Cheshire. It's either Cheshire or Cheshire, England. And it's great to communicating with you people all over the world. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you're thinking a lot about your own life and all the natural gifts that you have to offer to the world and the awesomeness that you are within yourself. You're a great individual. Extend it to the world. The world needs your smiles, needs your happiness. The world needs you to create your life now the way you want it, because that will make a better world. Got to go now. God bless. James Nussbaumer signing off.